And I like this one.
Yeah, I think it's important because we need to look back at the year that was. And I think if you have to look back, you'll probably think to yourself, hang on, did that happen this year or was it the year before? Did that really happen this year? Yes, it did. It's been an exceptionally busy year. So what is the event that stood out for you this year? Because I think if you cast your mind back to how it all began, I mean, we saw the year beginning very much so with the resignation of our former president, Jacob Zuma, and many not knowing, was he going to, was he, wasn't he? So it was that was how it all sort of started, and thereafter there were many events that came after that. So, but you let us know, what is it that stood out for you? Was there a special event? Doesn't have to necessarily be a political event that took place. Perhaps it was something else that sort of shook South Africa or got us all speaking, or whatever it was. Let us know, what was your event of 2018?
At Morning Live SABC, that's where you can send your interaction, and of course we'll let everybody in on some of your thoughts later on in the show. Right, we shift our focus now to some of the big stories of the day. Let's take a look.
Okay, first up, the IEC will today meet with editors and journalists to equip them with information around next year's general election.
And you were talking about this year and how it began. Well, there you go.
This is
setting the tone for how we get off to a running start next year.
Oh, what a running start it is, yeah.
Right, a pastor from Richmond near KwaMashu, north of Durban, is applying for bail at the Ntuzuma Magistrates Court, and he was arrested for allegedly raping young female congregants.
A Johannesburg mother and her boyfriend, who stand accused of beating a 3-year-old and burning him with boiling water, will appear in court today.
Right, and those are some of the stories. And then we look at the trending topics. And the first one this morning is hashtag Boerkaap. And quite a lot of talk around the Boerkaap, but I think for the most part, this is about having the Boerkaap declared a heritage site.
Yeah.
So that's what all the talk around that is about.
Interesting.
And quite interesting debates around it as well.
Martin Tetwa leading that one and saying that he wants to speed it up as opposed to slow it down. So to make the Boerkaap a national heritage site. Then, of course, Brexit and no confidence. I think they're linked very much so together. You know, as much as we are struggling to find news here in South Africa for a change, besides, you know, the awful death toll on our roads, which is something that is just horrible. In the UK, there is absolutely no drought when it comes to news, and everything is about Brexit and no confidence. And well, Brexit, I mean, can you believe it, is just 101 days away. So if nothing changes in 101 days, the UK would have had to have left the EU, but they are still more divided than they were 30 months ago when they first voted for Brexit. Now, Jeremy Corbyn has once again called for a vote of no confidence into Theresa May, Prime Minister Theresa May. Basically, he went on to say in the House yesterday, as the only way I can think of ensuring a vote takes place this week, I'm about to table a motion which says the following, that this House has no confidence in the Prime Minister due to her failure to allow the House of Commons to have a meaningful vote straight away on the withdrawal agreement that will be tabled immediately. So
no, Jeremy Corbyn needs to come up with something different.
He does.
I mean, they had the vote last week.
Can you
she
believe
survived. Only a third of the members of the Conservative Party voting against her. They need to come up with something different. And also, and I think I've said this before, I do not believe that the problem is Theresa May.
No.
It doesn't matter who they put in there. Their problem is, how do they get out of Brexit, you know, in any sort of meaningful way where they can still leverage somewhat, but, you know, be on their own. But also considering that the UK was also always a very reluctant member of the EU.
They never adopted the currency.
Exactly.
They were really almost on the sidelines, but they had a massive influx of people coming into the UK looking for opportunities from other European countries. But the reality is they're in a very difficult situation because, you know, now it's the talk of whether or not they go ahead and have another vote. Do they open it up to the public and say, look, what do we do? But what do you vote? Are you voting for to say yes to May's conditions of Brexit? Is that what you're voting for? And this is, I read this very interesting article about that. Do you ask them that? Do you ask them, are we going to do Brexit or are we not going to do Brexit? Or do you ask them three questions?
But you've asked them that already. You had a referendum and this is what has brought you to this point. So it's a crazy one.
Yeah,
but it reminds me very much of the Americans and the Donald Trump situation because, again, nobody thought it would happen, and it did.
But it did
Nobody
happen.
thought that Britain would vote for Brexit, and they did. And now they don't know what to do with themselves.
It's crazy, I know. Expect the unexpected and then deal with it. Careful what you wish for, because it can come true. And now you have to deal with the consequences.
Yeah. All right, and unfortunately our news reports this morning starting with terrible news of what's happening on our roads, and let's hope that Rob Byrne will not have any more bad news for us. Good morning, Rob.
Yeah, good morning, SK. No confidence in Theresa May's government. No confidence here in our ability to understand the dangers of driving, particularly at this time of year. It's been a fatal crash after a fatal crash ever since Friday, right across the weekend. And just as we come to air, another crash on the R61 in the Eastern Cape, and another 5 or 6 people in a family just perishing. So it's horrific. Here's just a little snapshot of what's going on. These are just some scenes from the weekend. Absolutely horrific crashes. You have no chance, little chance to no chance of surviving one of these high-speed crash scenes, particularly in a taxi. And this is what we're seeing sort of right across the country. This stood out for me. I'll just put this graphic up. This is one province. This is the Western Cape over 2 days, Friday and Saturday. There's a listing that's come to us from the Western Cape provincial government just showing the fatalities, effectively 2 nights. And the worst thing about that list, I mean, there's 28 people that have perished in those 2 days. But the worst thing is they're all so young. If you look at the pedestrians there, 10 years of age, 12 years of age, 3 years of age, 17. You know, there's hardly anyone over 40. Young people are being killed on our roads in big numbers. And that's just one province, 27 people perishing in basically 2 nights. All right, and talking of that, there's been another crash this morning. So if you're waiting for someone to arrive into Cape Town and they're coming from up country, they are going to be held up. There's a crash between Luchamka and Lanesburg. It's another one on that deadly section, and that's going to be holding things up, and I can tell you it is holding it up quite badly. And just keep in mind, if you're still to drive away this holiday season, just think about it. Stop and rest regularly. Be safe. Drive smart. Buckle up. Phone down. Slow down. Buckle up. Phone down. Slow down. Just, stay in your lane. Take it easy, and please survive this holiday season. It's not a good picture, and it's far from over. All right, that's a look at what's happening. Let's get a weather update. Good morning, Asmi.